Yo, it's Troy. I'm just here to post my thoughts on Watch the Throne. I already have my written review up that you can see on my website, lboombip.wordpress.com. Written review. I wrote more than I wanted to write because I felt really inspired to by this album. Now, the first thing I want to touch on, Watch the Throne. Just from seeing the responses from Twitter, message boards, I mean, just as a whole, and physically talking to people about it as well. From what I've seen, is that the fans, by and large, love this album. The actual rap artists do not like this album. I think you can contribute that to the title of the album. It's called Watch the Throne. If you tell a colleague of yours to watch the throne, you're basically slapping them in the face. On Twitter, if you follow me, I appreciate it, but I only follow my favorite artists. And I saw dudes like Ninth Wonder. He said the album wasn't for him, and that's cool and all, but he just kept going on about it for hours and hours and hours. Like, if you don't like the album, stop talking about it. Joe Budden, Joel Ortiz, they had some negative words for it. Don Tripp, he has Step Brothers out. That's a really good mixtape with Starlito. He said something about it. From what I've seen, the industry, artists do not like it, but the fans, by and large, love the album. Now, what I expected out of Watch the Throne, I don't want to get too much into my expectations because I like to review the album based on the music and the music by itself. I don't really like to bring in past works or what the artist has done before because that has no relevance to how good the music is on the album. Just period. But to keep it brief, my expectation, I expected to hear a lot of bragging. I expected lush production. I expected Jay-Z to come like he did on Blueprint 3. And somewhat what he came last year. Last year he had some of the best verses. Light Up with Drake, Freemason with Rick Ross. I expected Kanye West to come with his bravado. Expected a lot of bravado on the album. But when I listen to the album, there's the bravado there. There's, your bragging tracks. But for the overwhelming part of the album, there's not a lot of bragging. This is surprisingly like a pro-black and almost motivational album. If you catch my drift, tracks that I only counted where the song was just based on bragging was Otis, Niggas in Paris, Gotta Have It, and Liftoff. And Liftoff is iffy, but we'll give you that. And Who Gonna Stop Me as well. But even in Who Gonna Stop Me, there's the pro-black references. And the song seems like, yeah, they're bragging, but it seems like they're bragging to motivate. Jay-Z had a line on Murder to Excellence where he said, and it really hit me hard, he said something to the effect of, what up, Will? What up, O? It's not enough, we gon' need a million more. Kicking the dough, Biggie flow, I'm all dressed up with nowhere to go. And that hit me hard because he's basically saying, like, yeah, I have all this. I'm one of the richest black men in America, along with Oprah and Will. Like, this is my company. But when he says I'm all dressed up with nowhere to go, he's basically saying, like, I have all this money, but I don't have any brothers to celebrate it with. So if you're not looking at this album, if you're just listening to it just on surface, you're not really going to catch that. But over half the album is not bragging. It's like pro-black, motivational, just to name a few. Murder to Excellence, New Day, where they're, doing their Tupac-esque Letters to My Son, Made in America. This album is not just straight bragging. It would seem that way because the production is just so elegant, and the rhymes, it's not like they're rapping. It's not like Kanye and Jay are just using their rapping voice. It's like they're talking at you and talking down to you. That's the tone of their voice and the aggression of their voice, but that's not what's happening. So, this album is really not. It's really not just a braggadocious album. I mean, honestly. And when they do brag on the album, they're bragging to motivate. And then the one bragging song that stands out to me the most is Niggas in Paris. And that's That's one of the best tracks on the album, even if it is bragging, because there's nothing wrong with bragging in rap. So yeah, as far as lyrics go, this is not like the most lyrical album, but there are times where they do get, do their thing. On Otis, Jay-Z has this line where he says, "Arm out the window through the city, I maneuver slow. Cock back, snap back. See my cut through the holes." That's a quadruple reference. He referenced four different things. He says cock back, snap back, see my cut through the hole. I mean, obviously he's talking about driving the car. He's talking about snapbacks as well. When you see the cut through the hole with a snapback, I mean, there's hole. You can see the cut line up through the hole. There's that reference. Cut through the holes also, in terms of traffic. But he also referenced the running back, because when you snap back on a ball in football, you snap, just catch the snap, take it back to the running back. He's running to looking for a cut through the hole, through the offensive line. Also, he's talking about shooting. See the cut through the hole of a gun. Bam. So yeah, four different references just in those two lines. That's something that Jay's really, over the past 5 years has really been known for, those multiple entendres, multiple meanings. Not so much the multi-syllabic and turn around me that he was known for early in his career with the Reasonable Doubt, In My Lifetime, Hard Not Life, and Life and Times. Production-wise, this album is very elegant. And when Kanye West came into the game with College Dropout, he didn't invent, nor was he the first to do it, nor was he even one of the first to do it, but he repopularized the soul sound and brought it mainstream. But his past two albums, it's sort of like he's meshing orchestra and rap, and he's just combining them. And on Twitter, Don Tripp said, the rapper, he said, "I came into this album expecting classic music, not classical music." And I think that's a compliment and an insult, because he is bringing all these different instruments. On the Blueprint 3 cover, Jay-Z had instruments just in the background, like all bundled up as if they were getting thrown away, because the message behind that was because he felt that instruments in hip-hop were not being used and utilized enough. They were being substituted for just computerized sounds. Well, since then, Kanye West has released Dark Fantasy and Watch the Throne, where he's getting all these different producers in. On Watch the Throne, he had the RZA, he had Q-Tip, he had Hit Boy, who just signed to Good Music, legend Mike Dean. I mean, he had a good cast, and he had a lot of people, and he's bringing all these instruments, and he's just meshing them together, and it's sort of like an orchestra, a rap orchestra, and I appreciate that. And above all, the production is good. Niggas in Paris has a great production. The beat change in Murder to Excellence is just starts off with the acoustic guitar, then it just gets grimy. That's My Bitch. The drums there are crazy, and I saw that Q-Tip had a production spot on that track. I wouldn't be surprised if Q-Tip did those drums, because he's known for his drums. But yeah, this album as a whole I've listened to it first and I wasn't wowed by it. But I think what people need to do, they need to stop going into albums. They're comparing it to the past work, and they're putting expectations on the artist. You need to just listen to this album, to any album that you're gonna be a critic about, and go into it as if they're just underground, unknown artists. Because that way you'll focus more on the music and not on the hype. I give Watch the Throne like a 4.25 out of 5. I thought it was a great album. They did what they wanted to do on the bragging tracks. They did it better than anybody else in the game. The rapping is good. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's effective. It's serviceable, and I think the rapping is good to great. They had a theme. They had messages. Production is good. Rapping is good. You combine all that together. 12 tracks. Good size. It's cohesive. I think it's a great album. If you're a traditional rap fan, you may be turned off by the production because it's not your traditional rap, but if you have a real expensive music taste, you can understand what they're doing. You just won't write it off because of the production. You can appreciate what they're doing, even if you don't think the production is great. The messages and the charisma and the delivery compensates for the lack of actual lyricism. So I think it's a great album. I don't think it's the best this year. I don't think it's top 5. I don't think it's top 10. But I think it's a great album. There are a handful of albums I have above this from this year. Elmatic, Section 80, Return of Forever, Translation Lost by Della. Get on that. Just because it's Kanye and Jay-Z doesn't mean it can't be in the middle. It doesn't mean it can't be, it doesn't mean that it's either great or terrible. You can have a middle ground. Here's amazing, perfect album. Here's worst album, terrible album. I think it's about right here. It's a great album. And I will listen to it. It has replay value to me. I usually don't talk about the bonus albums, but the bonus songs, but the bonus songs are good. The Joy, Prime Time was produced by No ID, who has been on fire this year with the Cocaine 80s LP with the production on Finally Famous. Whether you like Big Sean or not, that production was hot. And now he puts in work here. So as a whole, I give it 4 out of 5. Go see my whole written review. It's on FreshNewMusic.com. In the search box, just look up Watch the Throne Review, and it's on my blog, lboombip.wordpress.com. Get on that. It's Troy. Follow me on Twitter at TroyIsMajor. Stay funky.